Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Morning Shot. It's 2024. We hope you had a great New Year and a happy Christmas. But unfortunately, we're back 2024 in Retardistan, Zuma's creation of the MK party.
Very much so. It was created on December the 16th last year. And believe me, when I say this, I think this is the definitive bullet in the skull of the ANC. Jacob Zuma is a rock star in KZN. He holds a 65% support, average support in KZN itself. KZN and Gauteng are 44% of the entire electoral vote in this particular country. If you want a cat amongst the pigeons, the MK party is just that. And the ANC doesn't know what the hell to do.
No, it's rather weird because you see, what Zuma has said is that he's created the MK party to save the ANC. He hasn't left the ANC, he's still a member, but he's not going to campaign for it, and he's going to vote for a different party externally to hold the ANC accountable. And he says to all of the fellow ANC members, if you care about the ANC, leave the ANC, join the MK party. Once we're in power, we can basically reverse engineer a takeover of the ANC. I think that's basically the plan.
It really does seem like that. So if you look at Ace Magashule in the Free State and you look at Zuma in KZN, you've got these ANC offshoots to become sort of provincial warlords of those provinces, the Free State and KZN, with Ace running Free State, Zuma running KZN, and then somehow bringing the ANC way down, maybe going into coalition with the ANC and then taking over from within. But that is probably the grand strategy, but I don't think these two can pull it off. And most importantly, I think they're going to kill it before they can save it.
Yeah, you see, I seem to agree with you there because I think the politicians in Retardistan fail to recognize that they themselves are retarded. Because you see, the problem is that you've kept the ANC in power for some time. Remember, we want to keep the ANC in power because otherwise, you'll bring back apartheid. But what happens when you show them that the ANC isn't the only viable alternative? They might actually start looking for other political parties like, I don't know, IFP maybe, or Action SA, or somebody who's not part of their cabal. The other thing is that it would probably give you more credibility if what you didn't do is go out there and say, the ANC has become terribly corrupted, it's become terribly infested by Western ideals, which in some instances is correct. But then you go and recruit all your new members for MK from all the individuals that got kicked out of the ANC for corruption. And it's like unanimously, everybody got kicked out of the ANC for corruption. It's like joining these new parties, going, "Oh yeah, we're all for the people." And you know what? Like the people in Retardistan are retarded. Well, mate, they're not that retarded. I mean, even these guys can see through this.
Uh, no, but they are that retarded, Byron. I mean, I know you got festive cheer and maybe you made New Year's resolutions like to be happier, but no, the voters are definitely retarded, and MK is going to do super, super well. This is important because the voters don't care about this sort of nonsense. The voters care about who is their superhero in the year 2024. And for many people in KZN, it is Jacob Zuma. He's a Zulu, like they are. He was the president of the country, like they aspired to be. He was the president, the first Zulu president of South Africa. This guy's a hero. Doesn't matter if he's corrupt. He's a Zulu chief. The chiefs are supposed to eat, right? Chiefs are supposed to have money. You go to Nkandla to get your little bag of mini meal because that's what the chief does. People love Jacob Zuma. They don't care about the corruption. But what he's doing is he's taking a knife straight into the ANC's face. And they don't know what to do with it. He's not going to save the ANC. And that's a wonderful thing. We should praise MK and praise Jacob Zuma for killing the ANC.
Yes, I mean, one of the things that we could say is that a lot of the analysts have predicted that the actual turning point for South Africa would be 2029. It was 2029 when the ANC itself would be completely destroyed and, we could have a new party in South Africa, which would show that actually we've become a mature democracy where we actually have had more than one party rule the country, unlike Zimbabwe with ZANU-PF, right? But with that being said, it does appear that all of these splinter organizations of the ANC are intent on bringing that date forward to 2024. And it is obvious that the ANC themselves do not know what to do. Because Fikile Mbalula, we love Mr. Fix for Call. We lied for him in Parliament. We stole for him in Parliament. We even had, and he says, the chief of police was sat there with his hands in his head, and he was saying he was so scared about us lying in Parliament because he knew we were misleading him, and he was hoping nobody noticed. I mean, everybody noticed. And he says, and yet after all of this, he comes out and says, "Ish, I can't support this ANC people, eh?" And he's like, "What do I do with this? Because we lied for the guy, and he's still stabbing us in the back."
The ANC doesn't know what to do. They completely stuck. Cyril increased the pension for Jacob Zuma. Cyril pardoned him from jail. Cyril tried his best to get Jacob Zuma on board the ANC, and Jacob Zuma tells Cyril to go fuck himself, which is just, how can you dislike Jacob Zuma now? Come on, Byron. This is our hero. This is wonderful.
Remember when he went back to prison and he was in prison for like an hour, and then suddenly and magically this magical pardon came out, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we pardon everybody," and Zuma's name happened to be on that list. I mean, who knew? Anyway, so Zuma got to come out, and then Cyril says, "Look, we've done all this for you. Remember when I was deputy president and we lied for you about the fire pool? Because it was actually, if you actually go back in time and look, it's actually Cyril who claimed it was a fire pool in that parliamentary debate. So Cyril's the one who basically lied for him, kept him in power, and kept him out of jail. And he says, my man, I'm only asking you to do one thing: campaign for the ANC and KZN. This is all we want." And Zuma says, "No, because they don't like you. And as you, particular, Cyril Ramaphosa, I don't like you, so I'm not campaigning for you. In fact, I'm going to create a party, and all we're going to do is get everybody that don't like you to go to that party, and then we're basically going to tell you we don't like you from outside of the ANC." And you can see the ANC is like, "But I thought the comrades all stick together and like, all become one big happy family. What's happening here?" And you see, this is one of the problems with democracy in Africa. Don't take long for it to become trouble, huh? And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, my faction versus your faction. There's constant factionalism. And the ANC doesn't really seem to understand that this isn't going to get easier for them. It's going to get harder. And whilst you have a wish-washy president who can't hold anything together, it's not going to get any easier, is it?
Yeah, so if people have been watching us for a while, we said, there could be this opposition coalition that takes out the ANC, like, the Moonshot Pact type. But actually, what takes out the ANC is the Moonshot Pact plus hardcore lefties like Ace Magashule and Jacob Zuma. Though Jacob Zuma was never really an ideological person. That guy doesn't hate white people. He's puffing it up now during the course of the election. He says we black people need to stick together, which is fair enough. I think they should as well. But he was never an ideological guy. He didn't hate whites. The splintering of the ANC is here. Jacob Zuma is the biggest splinter to fall from it. I know people look at the EFF. EFF, 10% party, not going to go very far. But for 2024 and purposes of the general election, this is probably the greatest political upheaval we have seen, I don't know, since the New Dawn. And even that wasn't really an upheaval. But the question for you, Byron, is Cyril Ramaphosa has resigned like 3 times. He's a caretaker president. He doesn't give a shit about anything at all. I assume he's going to step down, irrespective of what happens during the course of the elections. Soon after the elections, they're going to recall him, or he's going to say, "Futsak, ANC, I'm going away." Paul Mashatile maybe comes into power, and then people are going to say, "Oh, maybe Paul Mashatile and Zuma and Ace Magashule and the EFF can have a deal." Sure. So fucking what?
It's just not going to work, man. I can't see these communists all getting together and figuring out a strategy, which actually goes to show that they must believe the same thing, because Juju came out today and basically said, why didn't Zuma go out there and give a blessing for parties to vote for the EFF? Had he done that, the EFF would get a big support increase in the next elections. He says, but he claims that MK and the ANC being at odds with each other isn't actually going to further either of those two parties. He says the ANC is not dead. The ANC will still get its votes. MK may take a small hit, but it's not going to exponentially grow, not like an endorsement of the EFF would do. So Juju's not in favor of this, and he says he thinks it's the wrong political move. Who cares at the end of the day? I suppose the upshot of it is everybody who's campaigning for party members or individuals in the state not to vote for the ANC, and every vote that comes out of the ANC and goes somewhere else, that's a good thing, because it basically means there's less of a majority for the ANC come 2024, which is this year.
Yeah, and just think about it. None of these guys who left the ANC have joined the EFF. And why is that? Because Malema is a puss. And everyone thinks so. It is that simple. The only person who's joined the EFF is Conley House. And I mean, come on. There's nothing more to say in this particular regard. Conley House is a moron. And that's why he joined the EFF. No one else is going to join the EFF. The EFF is a joke of a party. Everyone in the ANC knows it's a joke of a party. And when they leave the ANC, they don't go to the EFF. They start their own thing, which tells you everything you need to know about the EFFs.
So everybody sits there going, this is the coalition of doom. They cannot coexist. Otherwise, you're 100% correct. They'd all go through to the EFF or ACE's party ACT or Zuma's party MK. They would all create something. And we've seen this all the way back from the time of Thabo Mbeki. Remember, his famous thing was cope. Like, these guys cannot coexist. Every time they get into a little factional battle, they go somewhere else and try to fight their factional battle from outside of it. It never turns out positive.
It's mutually assured destruction at its best. Yeah, all I can say, it's finally the year of the election. Jacob Zuma has thrown a hand grenade right in the middle of it, and I just can't wait. I just can't wait. I wish Jacob Zuma all the best. And I really, really mean that. I think he can fundamentally change the trajectory of the 2024 election in ways we don't even contemplate right now.